What's up, everybody? It's your old buddy Carolina Jackpot coming at you once again. It's Friday evening, late on January the 4th. A few days away from the college football playoff national championship game. Coming to you about 9 bells on Monday evening. Clemson Tigers, ranked number 2 in the country, taking on number 1 Alabama from Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara, California, more popularly known as San Francisco area. Man, I'll tell you what, this is shaped up to be a really good one, a game for the ages, perhaps. Well, it looks like the two best teams in college football will be playing for that national championship spot. You cannot deny Alabama and what they've done this year. I mean, they have just ran through everybody on their schedule, and it hadn't even been funny. Most of the games have not even been contests after halftime. The SEC championship game against Georgia is the lone matchup in which they were really tested. You could make an argument that they got tested by Mississippi State a little bit earlier on in November, but really it wasn't. You know what? They got tested by the Citadel more than most anybody else on that schedule. Clemson, same thing. Went through the schedule. Not a lot of real close tests. The game against Syracuse, I think, was about the 4th or 5th game of the season. That was a game in which they had to score on the last drive to win. Championship teams will do that, though. They will be able to pull out wins like that. And then after that game, they set off on a tear through the ACC schedule, and they were really not tested at all after that. They had a couple of games where they gave up a lot of yards, especially in the passing game. In the second game of the season at Texas A&M, and the last game of the season against South Carolina, the last game of the regular season. But they were able to win both those games. The Texas A&M game, of course, much closer. The South Carolina game gave up a lot of yards there, but really weren't seriously tested because South Carolina's defense was absolutely horrid. So we arrive at a national championship game. Both teams really, in my opinion, not really tested in the first round of the playoff. Clemson certainly not so, beating Notre Dame handily, 30-3 last Saturday in the Cotton Bowl game. And, of course, the Orange Bowl game, the Alabama Crimson Tide, took care of business and got rid of the Oklahoma Sooners. Allowed Oklahoma to kind of come back in that game a little bit and get kind of a backdoor cover on the spread. It's like Alabama kind of sat back a little bit after they had a comfortable lead in that one. What do I see from these two teams? Well, you cannot deny great quarterback play. There's just so much similarity between these two teams, especially on offense. You can't deny the great quarterback play. Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback for the Alabama Crimson Tide, I think 41 touchdowns this year, 3 or 4 interceptions. I think he's got like a 210 quarterback rating. That's insane. Watching him this year, it's just been like a clinic. Except the guy's gotten injured a couple of times, and right now he might not be the healthiest player out there. But from watching him play, you really wouldn't know it. I was watching that game last Saturday. He is surprisingly a lot quicker than I thought he was. He is really mobile on his feet, and I didn't know that about him. So that's something else for Clemson to watch out there. Here's the deal. Clemson, the defensive line, will have to get pressure on this guy. If they allow him to sit back there in the pocket with any time to make a decision, he's going to pick the secondary apart. You were picked apart by never again Jake Bentley from South Carolina. If he can pick you apart, Tua's going to pick you apart. And, I mean, you can't be prepared. You can't be prepared for that. The best defensive linemen, Clemson's got 4 defensive linemen who are all really, really good, are going to be NFL either first or second round draft picks. arguably the best one, Dexter Lawrence, won't be playing in this game. He got suspended for the Notre Dame game and this one for some sort of banned substance. Don't really know what all the details are of that, but he's not able to play, and along with a couple of backups. So that could have a little bit of effect on it. I don't think it really had a lot of effect in the Notre Dame game. It could have an effect here. Alabama's offensive line, a little bit better than Notre Dame's, as well as on the skill position. A little bit better than Notre Dame. Well, actually, a lot better than Notre Dame skill-wise. Tua has a bevy of receivers to throw to, led by Jerry Jeudy, probably the best wide receiver in college football this year. Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, all these guys are really impressive. At the tight end, Irv Smith, I mean, they're just, I mean, it's unstoppable. Really, really, mostly unstoppable. On the running game, the Harris brothers, Damian and Najee Harris, and Josh Jacobs, the short yardage back. I mean, these guys, they're not putting up eye-popping numbers, but they can still run the ball down your throat. Don't get it twisted. On defense, they are Alabama 5th in the country, I think, on sacks. Led Big Quinnen Williams up front. He's a future NFL player. That defense is probably the weaker part of the Alabama unit, especially in the defensive backfield and the back end. So Clemson could exploit that. Trevor Lawrence, he's got bevy receivers to throw to. Justin Ross, T. Higgins, really good. Amari Rogers, and of course the ever-present Hunter Renfrow there. And that ground game, though, is what's really explosive. Travis Etienne, about 1,500 yards this year. I'm not quite sure how many touchdowns he's got. He's got a whole busload of them. Somebody, I mean, he's got a bunch. And then you have Tavian Feaster, Adam Choice back there. These guys can make plays. Lynn J. Dixon, the freshman. These guys still can have some explosiveness about themselves, too. They spell Etienne a little bit. So Alabama's going to have to bottle up that run game. Can they do it? I think they will somewhat. I don't think they're totally going to shut that down. They're definitely not going to shut down a passing attack. Trevor Lawrence, is a true freshman, has already shown that being on the big stage is not too much for him. I mean, he went out really with a lot of poise last week in the semifinal game against Notre Dame. Absolutely lit them up. It was no problem. He's been ACC championship game, another big stage. He lit Pittsburgh up, no problem. So I don't think that this stage is going to be too big for Trevor. A lot of people think it will be, and, I really don't know what they base that on. I think that he'll go out there, I think he'll perform, and he'll play well. Of course, we already know what Tua is capable of doing. So, these two teams they're both really good, and, it's hard to pick between these two. This venue they're playing in, it's kind of a strange place to be playing a college football national championship game. It really is. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, it would make more sense to me, and I think that, crowd-wise and public exposure-wise, I think it would have made more sense to have had that first-round playoff game in this stadium if that's what they wanted to. If this place had bid for something to give them that first-round playoff game and maybe have the championship game in the Cotton Bowl. Just makes a little bit more sense to me. I don't know how that stuff goes, but from what I've heard, it's not the most aesthetically pleasing stadium out there, but hey, you know what? I don't make those decisions. So this is going to be a long trip for both teams. Of course, Clemson, I think, on the way there, or should be there by now. I'm not sure about Alabama's travel plans. Alabama, and you also got to think about this too. Clemson played played inside last week. Played inside last Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, as it were, against Notre Dame. Alabama was outside in the higher 70-degree temperatures, high humidity in the Orange Bowl. They're going to be worn out. Conditioning is important, and maybe that kind of gets away from you this time of year because the weather is normally cooled off a lot. But Alabama played in the heat on Saturday last week, so could have an effect. I don't know. Maybe not. But 5.5 points is what Alabama's laying right now against the Tigers. Just looking at this right now, looking at it objectively, knowing the history between these two, every game that they've played, playoff-wise, has been close with the exception of last year's semifinal game, which Alabama won 24-6, but that wasn't really indicative. It was a lot closer than that, really. Alabama scored a defensive touchdown. It seems like they had a touchdown on special teams. It was a blocked punt, field goal, something like, I can't remember what it was. But at any rate, the games have been close. 5.5 points, that's not a lot. These two offenses can light it up. I think the over-under as far as points on this game is 59 or 60. In this game, I'm going to take the Tigers to cover the spread. But I think Alabama's going to pull out the win. I think it's going to be another close one. I think it's going to be another one that may come down, be another last possession type deal. I'm looking for either like a 31-28 final or a 35-31. I think Alabama's just – I would actually take Clemson straight up here to cover the spread and win. But, I mean, nobody has been able to do anything this year with Alabama except for Georgia, and they couldn't get the job done. So, knowing what they've done, seeing the way that they've ran through that schedule, covered all the spreads, just dominated all the teams they played, I'm going to have to go with the Crimson Tide to win a very, very close one, but I do think the Tigers cover the spread in this one. Would it shock me to see the Tigers win this one and win their second national championship in 3 years? No, it would not at all. It would not surprise me at all. I don't think either team is going to blow the other one out. That's just not going to happen. And I do think that Alabama will come out victorious. I say I'm about 65% sure on that. So, confident, but not overly confident. Not overly confident. So that's my take on it, guys. Let me know down in the comment section below what you think is going to happen in this game. Carolina Jackpot, peace, and I am out. And go Gamecocks.